And this morning, we'll be looking at Parliament passing the Value for Money Office Bill 2026 and what that means for the fight against corruption. Also looking at the expenses of the government and how the country wants to ensure that everything that is done is within the law and there are no unnecessary excesses. We'll also be looking at what the country has achieved through President John Mahama submitting that petition, as it were, at the UN to declare that slavery was the greatest injustice to humanity, and the massive support we had there, getting over 150 votes. Of course, 52 countries abstaining and 3 deciding to vote against, including Israel. What this means for Ghana and moving forward, really, how that will play a role in terms of our relationships internationally. I do have on the panel with me Madam Rosalind Imorayana, who is a public interest advocate. She's a regular panelist. Good morning to you, ma'am. It's great to have you.
It's always great to be here.
Yes, I also do have with me Madam Laruratu Musa Saka, member of the MPP's communications team. Good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be joined very shortly as well by presidential staffer Nana Iya Echampim Jantua.
Always late.
Her book is here. Her book came ahead of her, so
always late.
At least she's represented by her book ahead of time.
Yes, don't start.
But perhaps I can start with you. Really, Parliament passing this bill, of course, which has been passed into law.
This is the reason why Nanaya was late.
It was presented.
You don't go and pass a bill and not come
It was presented by the finance minister in February, and eventually it has been passed.
You were late. You were the last person who came.
Which car did you bring?
Yeah, my own car.
Which car?
Good morning to you, Nanaya. Thank you for joining us. I'm asking you very well, thank you. You're welcome. And I was asking you my first question really about perhaps how necessary you find this bill which has been passed into law now.
Good morning. Good morning, Beatrice. It's good to be here. Good morning to Nanaya. I know she's missed me, so there's no doubt about it. Auntie Rhoda, good to see you. It's been a while.
To see you again.
And good morning to our viewers. Beatrice, I mean, with the tenets of the New Patriotic Party and as the party that made up the government that has just been out in less than a year, one of the strong pillars or one of the things that former President Akufo-Addo and his team really pushed was the fight against corruption. With the setting up of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the passing of the Witness Protection Act, and all those other things that can make, that can strengthen the institutions of institutions that fight corruption. So putting together an institution that's supposed to have oversight and also ensure that our contracting regime is done efficiently and effectively, ideally shouldn't be something that anyone should have qualms with. But when you also look at it from the angle of setting up an office, that becomes a bit problematic because we have existing institutions. And when you go back to the conversation and the issues that the NDC then in opposition raised when it came to the setting up of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and now coming into power and trying to set up another office, another bureaucratic level of making sure that things are done right. Value for money audits is not new to our contracting or projects regime. It's always been with us. The PPA has had its act amended a couple of times to suit the situation and the happenings and block loopholes. The Parliament of Ghana has that oversight to make sure that some of these things are done and done well. especially when the funding from that for whatever contract or whatever project it is part of the budget that is approved by Parliament. So value for money, ensuring that things are done for right, but putting together a whole office that comes with its own cost component is something that we really need to look at and look at properly. The PPA does this. We've been having conversations around the Act. The Auditor General's office is there. For some of these things, because of some of these happenings, that is what led also to the creation of the Internal Audit Agency. So we have the Internal Audit Agency, we have the Auditor General's office, we have the PPA. So if we can strengthen these institutions to ensure, and these are their mandates, the Auditor General's office can do special audits. There have been a couple of them that have been done. Unfortunately, even on the side of the citizenry, there's the RTI Act that makes it easy for citizens or civil society to get access to information.
Do I hear you say that you think the establishment, as it were, because this law which has been, the bill which has been passed into law would lead to the establishment of an independent body, as it were. Do I hear you indirectly?
That's the explanation,
yes. Do I hear you indirectly say that you don't think that it's
I don't
perhaps
think that
necessary?
Office of setting up a whole office, having a whole new bureaucratic level, I don't think, and that's the stance
you heard the finance minister when he presented the bill in February, and the kind of things he said this was going to look at. You don't think this has become necessary because those institutions you have mentioned were found weakened and couldn't do what they had to do?
Weakened by who?
Well, you talked about the fact that the MPP government under President John Mahama...
by who?
Hold on, I'm answering your question.
Yes.
You talked about the fact that the MPP government under President Akufo-Addo established that it had favor for the fight against corruption by establishing the Office of the Special Prosecutor, among others. But we have information, and we saw what Martin Amidu did, saying that, eventually he had to resign from that position. We saw what Kisie Jabing eventually holding press conferences and saying at a point that he was Ankonam, which gives the indication that, yes, they might have been established, but they were not given what they needed to function properly. And therefore, the government finds it necessary to establish this.
So, Beatrice, with what you're saying, the fact that, for the purpose of argument, let's agree that what you're saying is the situation. Okay, the institutions have been weakened. So the solution is to set up another institution that will equally be controlled by the executive. Is that what is going to solve the situation? Those institutions have acts backing them, have their mandates clearly stipulated in law, passed by the Parliament of Ghana. So why not strengthen the institutions? Let's agree without admitting, for the purposes of this discussion, that they are weakened. They can be strengthened. And let's even assume without admitting that the New Patriotic Party administration weakened all the anti-graft agencies in this country. So the government that promised us a reset, the government that promised us to come and fix it, their quick fix is to form another bureaucratic level. Is that what you're saying?
I never said that. I was asking you a question.
I'm asking. I said, is that what you're saying? Because that was the premise of the argument you're making.
Because the indication you gave earlier...
We should set up...
I never said that. The indication, I just answered your question by you are saying that we have PPA, we have all of that.
Yes.
But we've seen contracts, SML, National Cathedral, among others, that went without, bypassing PPA and all of that. And I'm saying that you're saying all these things are there. And I was answering your question by saying...
I'm also saying, based on the answer you gave me, that there's PPA, there's Auditor General's department, there's an internal audit agency, because at a point in our governance, it became clear that there was a need for those internal checks before it gets to the Auditor General. That's how come the internal audit agency was set up. And all institutions may not necessarily have internal audits. But the key ones have internal audit units across board to make sure that some of these things are done. And I also said that value for money is not new to our dispensation. And even if you go to the Ministry of Finance, there are departments that are there, trained officials that are supposed to ensure some of these things because they implement the budget once it's passed. And I also made it clear that especially when it comes to funds that are passed in the budget for appropriation by Parliament. So that's why I say let's assume, without admitting, all the institutions are we need to create another one.
You're talking about the need.
How is this new office that will obviously have a head appointed by the executive, I mean technically, solve this? So we think anything that is geared towards dealing with corruption and graft and all those issues that have been derailing us and derailing our development as a country must be supported. But the approach is what we need to take a critical look at. Because if the resources that's going to be used, look, there's everything that you choose to do, you may have your own justification for it. But the practical nature of it is what we should have. Is this approach the best? Couldn't this funding or whatever will be channeled to this office be used to strengthen? One of the key things that we need to strengthen in this country is our M&E processes, monitoring and evaluation processes. The other thing is also all of us, be citizens, the people who work in our public institutions. Yes, the politician or the head always takes the blame, right? That's the weakest link. But beyond the politician, beyond the head, who probably appointed by the politician, the other people along the value chain.
Is there a reason?
How are we insisting that some of these things are done? That's why I always maintain that the policy of see something, say something shouldn't just end with just security matters. We all use these institutions. We need to all be interested in how our nation is developed. So if someone is doing something untoward that PPA, someone is doing something untoward that Auditor General's Department, we all need to be responsible. Because at the end of it all, it's your tax, it's my tax. That is used to do all those things. It's not anybody's pocket money.
You talked about the need to strengthen these institutions and why, for you, the previous government thought that it was necessary to deal with some of these things we are talking about now. Is there a reason we didn't seem to have seen the strengthening, as it were, and the working out of these institutions to an extent that now the current government has had to, as it were, investigate a number of cases, some of which I've even mentioned just in
it's a matter of what people want to see or what they want to see. Even at a point that there was a ban on procuring vehicles and other things for institutions in the early days of the Akufo-Addo administration, the Auditor General then, Mr. Domelevo, gave thumbs up to the government for strengthening and building the capacity of the institution for them to do the work that they are doing. Mr. Domelevo was appointed in 2016. He wasn't. He was allowed to work until all those other issues came up, and even that one, all the issues that we're saying, he was due for retirement and all those other issues.
You would admit that Mr. Domelevo plus others who fought for him would not agree with how you're explaining things.
That's a matter of but when you go into strengthening these institutions, they will tell you, read their reports and all that. Yes, we may not have gotten everything right, but we don't believe that making sure that these institutions work. Yes, let's even assume that we killed everything. We're in opposition now. Ghanaians have punished us for it. Let's assume that we killed every anti-graft agency, every accountability institution in this country. We're in opposition now. The government sitting now promised to fix, to reset. Is the reset creating another bureaucratic body? That's the question that we need to
Let me
answer.
ask you this before I go to Nanaya Ajantua. You say, when I said that to an extent that some issues are currently being investigated, you said it's a matter of what people want to see and say. So you're saying that, for instance, the press conference by Kisi Ejabin, the special prosecutor, that SML, Ghana paid 1.4 million Ghana cedis to this company without any proper work being done, and also how much has been spent, as we see in the audit report that was submitted on the National Cathedral alone, $97 million. All of these is a matter of what somebody wants to see and say.
Beatrice, you mentioned that they're under investigations, right? We don't live in a jungle. There are rules and regulations. It's under investigations. And we've maintained that if anybody is found or has shortchanged this country, they must be dealt with as it ought to be. But what did you say? It's under investigations. Has anything been proven? Has anybody been charged? If they've been charged, they have to face the music. Well, the reason why I'll say is what people want to see. Prior to 2024 election, we heard all the accusations that the now Foreign Affairs Minister and people like him made. Few weeks into the administration, they went around taking up information and all that in the name of oral. We had a discussion about it. What has happened now? What did the Attorney General say? There's a lot of noise, no facts. But that doesn't erode the fact that we believe in accountability. And anyone who is found to have shortchanged this country must be dealt with as it ought to be. So once it's under investigation, you can't just assume that those people are guilty. Today, Fourth Estate is accusing the roads minister of, out of 107 contracts, giving 81, that amounts to 73 million out as sole sourcing. We know their stance.
But you heard the response of the roads minister. He said it's.
And you haven't heard the response of the people that are being investigated.
No,
in
but the
response
response of both the roads minister and the national communications officer for the NDC.
We should swallow the explanation of the minister who
Jemfi say that this information you're talking about is public knowledge. Everything that you need has been published. Plus, there are conditions where sole sourcing is allowed. You don't take those.
Published where? The minister came and said he has awarded what? The Fourth Estate is talking about 107 contracts. The minister is now talking about 400 contracts and has said this disingenuous way of trying to rope on completed projects. Government is a continuum. When you come and critical projects are there, you need to continue them. The accusation is that you've awarded 81 out of 107 contracts, sole sourcing. And we know they are still.
And you've chosen to believe the accusation that they
in the 2025, no, you think we should, the XYL administration officers didn't give explanations, but we still have pushed them for investigations. And you think that we should swallow the minister's explanation, hook, line, and sinker? Because now you can just appeal to people to trust you when you haven't put the evidence, proper evidence out there. Specific questions are being answered. You should answer the specific questions. And this needs to be investigated because we know their stance on it. Nobody is saying sole sourcing is a crime or unlawful. It's stipulated in our PPA Act. Nobody is saying that roads are critical. But you don't preach virtue and come and practice vice. And you don't point to yesterday and assume that it solves today's problems. So let's put the issues in perspective. We are all in this. And at the end of the day, it goes against those of us who decided to put ourselves in the political class to serve this country. The reality is, and like I said yesterday, with all due respect to the Nkrumahist parties, if they don't come together we are stuck with MPP and NDC for a very long time. And it must be something that also pushes us to do things the right way. The fact that it was done wrong yesterday doesn't mean you should justify it and do the same thing today.
Nanaya, your thought?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning to your viewers. You know, hey, my auntie. Auntie, how are you?
I'm fine.
You don't miss me.
I've missed you.
And good morning to Lara. Lara is upset. It's understandable.
I'm upset.
If you went,
no, I just have a craving for kinky once I saw you.
Oh, it's okay. Me, these days.
You don't eat kinky?
I do, but my doctor has stopped me, but I still do.
Oh, okay.
That one, I'm being stubborn. You see, you should understand when you lose an election like the way NPP lost the election, it's not a pleasant thing. So I don't be upset with her demeanor, the way she is talking. Listen, because you see, we are not talking about Honorable Abu just soul sourcing, but the point is that soul sourcing is also a form of procurement practice. We have restrictive tendering, we have competitive tendering, international and local, and we have soul sourcing. So if anybody does soul sourcing, I don't think that the person has committed any crime. It depends on the exigencies of the time, depends on the kind of procurement you are doing. So for instance, if you have to construct a certain road, you take it to the competitive tendering, you realize that maybe the lowest person, that is the requirement, the person, the lowest bidder will win. But it's possible that lowest bidder cannot do the road. I always use an example at PURC. I remember when we were doing some pens for public education, when I was the director for PR and external affairs. We got the quotes. Then we went, as the law says, we went for the lowest bidder. Beatrice, can you imagine, when you open the pen, the top pops out. So when we took it out to do the public education, when we finished cleaning up, the pens were lying all over the place. Nobody took their pen away. But there was somebody else who quoted a higher price. And looking at her samples, it was better than these ones. So if you look at the situation, for instance, we've been riddled with roads that are bad, because you go through the process and choose the person with the lowest amount quoted, and the roads are not done properly. Yes, you talk about monitoring and evaluation, but you ask for that amount of money. But when you start, you realize they cannot do it. So you end up finding that we have potholes all over the place.
Her argument is that you preached against that while
so is that the reason why she's talking? I mean, what is it? Is it good or bad? Let's be able to dichotomize the issue. What I'm seeing the MPP doing is that what you are doing is not wrong, but you are saying that we did it. How did they do it? You are talking about 81 against almost 1,300 sole source contracts. Yesterday I googled over a place like the National Cathedral. You sole source it to the architects, to the contractors, to everybody, and look at the amount that was involved. So I am saying that sole sourcing, we should not try to say that sole sourcing is a crime, because you see, when you establish crime within the sole sourcing arena, that maybe the minister did A, B, C, D, and that there is crime, there is corruption, you can establish that, then there's something that we have to look at. But if somebody justifies why they did the sole sourcing, for me, you see, it is me, or nobody should put government to what I'm coming to say. Yes, because you see, sometimes we go through the procurement process, and at the end of the day, we don't get value for money. And the country will go through a process, give the contract to somebody, and you don't even get value for money.
But if you don't get value for money, you should deal with those who were responsible through the chain.
No, the person has quoted, I'm buying this phone. Somebody has quoted 2,000, another has quoted 1,000, another has quoted 600. You certainly go for the 600
No,
one.
no, that's not how it works.
Why?
It's lowest responsive bidder.
But let her finish with the point, and then I'll come back to you.
All of them are responsive. How would you know I'm responsive or not? As I quote, the competitive bidding is the person who has the least or moderate or prudent. So how do I know whether you are responsive or not? When you bring that one in at that point of us going through the documents, going through Garnet, going through whatever, How do I know whether you are responsive or not?
But again, let's come back to the main issue. This is just a specific issue under this.
I mean,
at the law, she said that, I mean, we have we have PPA, we have other stuff. So why do you set up a new one if you claim you want to really deal with
that is her view, but I mean, thinking through it, all the issues, the institutions that she's talking about, they are after the fact too. Audit service, they will come to you, it's there. They said annually, they send reports. They come after the fact. Do you get me? I worked for public service in 27 years. The auditors will come at the end of the year. Even sometimes the beginning of the following year, which is the end of the financial year, to come and look at how you did your things. Audit service will come, you have an auditor and all that. This one, they will ensure, before even you go through your procurement, they will ensure that there's value for money. It even also include looking at all the procurement processes before it is even done. This project that you have, Larato and Company, under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, what you are going to procure, what kind of system do you use that will give us value for money? Are you going to use sole sourcing, competitive or restrictive tendering? As he said, responsive bidding. Who ensures that responsive bidding? That even if you quote a smaller figure, how are you going to do it? To ensure that there's financial prudence. To ensure that financial administration in the country is done properly. To ensure that the money that goes around is not wasted.
Now, are you, with your argument, are you claiming that what you were saying in opposition, perhaps you were saying that, I mean, you criticize sole sourcing, and now we have 44% of Big Push.
Big Push is one program. That's what I'm telling you. It is a road, this thing. What lessons have been learned? Maybe the minister should come and tell us that as he sat there, what lesson did he learn? That is why he's going this way.
But you didn't know that there could be reasons for sole sourcing, and you criticize it. Now you're using the same
I don't think anybody said specifically. Yesterday, did you listen to the communications officer? It is the abuse of it. It is not, it is law. How can anybody say that something that is in law? But it is abuse of it, that every project that went on, it has
44% is not an abuse.
In one sector. Yeah, I'm telling you. No, but we need to find out. Even we need to find out. For me, I didn't listen to them. But I'm saying that, find out why did he do that. It's possible he said it. He's gone around the country. He's one minister who was going to look at most of the roads. He knows how these roads were done. He knows who did what. So if he finds out that a certain contractor is good enough, but that contractor cannot go through because he has all the equipment, and if he has all the equipment, not some tabletop equipment, he can do a good road. I always say motorway. When Kwame Nkrumah was doing it, the MPUP at the time said that he's wasting money. Now, how many years down the line, we are still using the motorway?
Again, back to the same issue of this law which has been passed.
Which law?
The concern is that this is a country, and of course we've heard the president talk about the need for us to manage our finances prudently because of the situation we find ourselves in. Going to establish a new office, you're going to get people working there, you're going to get new head. That is extra money on the public purse.
This bill is in Parliament, right?
It's been passed yesterday.
It was passed?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't listen to it. If it has been passed, I am saying that the point is, it went to Parliament. How many of them? They looked at it. You think they didn't discuss it? They did. At the committee level, I've lost my sister, so imagine. Do you get me? They passed it. They looked at it. It went through the processes. Parliament discussed it. If there was any problem, and I believe that Afenyo Makin would have said no. I haven't heard him say anywhere that we should not set up an institution. That is their leader in Parliament. Do you get me? They also were there. Even if they didn't vote for the bill, they were there. Did you hear any one of them saying that the institution that is going to be set up is wrong?
So what you're trying to say is that if Parliament didn't have an issue with it and went ahead to pass
that is what I'm
there's
saying.
No problem with it.
There shouldn't be a problem, because I'm saying that all the audits is special prosecutor. When do you go to special prosecutor? When you have done something, the work, when you have executed the contract. Politicians, when you have supervised the execution of a contract, that is when you do something untoward, that is when the special prosecutor would come for you, investigate you. That why did you spend maybe 2 cedis instead of 4? And even Laratu said something, even when you go there, it is not automatic that you are guilty. If you're able to justify why you did this because of that. You see, this institution is even going to cure that. There are times that you go for procurement, then you realize that when you are doing the thing, you have to buy it. Do you understand me? So this one, most of the institutions we have, audit service, what is the name? Special prosecutor, auditor general. When does the auditor general report comes out? It comes out at the beginning of the next year. And that is when we see all those things. But this institution is going to be there. Procurement, you've gone through the procurement process. This is what you are going to do. You are going to ensure that this is right, that is wrong, this is right, that is wrong. You see, the procurement processes, there are laws. There are laws that governs the work of the procurement authority. I don't think that they themselves can even evaluate themselves. So this institution is going to help do that. You can have an institution and be prudent. It's not every institution that is big. Some institutions are very small, but they're very efficient.
I want to get your thoughts, Madam Ayana. When the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasia Latufosin, presented this bill in Parliament in February, he told us that it will help check cost overruns, project abandonment, wasteful expenditure, among others. I mean, to what extent do you see this doing this?
Good morning to our cherished viewers and to us. Yeah. Beatrice, when I heard of the new office, I had to do a bit of reflection. Because I remember that at one time, we had a Ghana Supply Commission, which was in charge of almost all government purchases in every form. They procured everything. They had to do with warehousing, they had to do with the shipping, they had to do everything. That was Ghana Supply Commission. So you'd say that was in the 60s, but I think it worked well for us. We didn't hear of the corrupt practices.
It came down to the 80s somewhere.
So around the 90s, 1993,
yes, that is when
it became Ghana Supply Limited, Commission Limited. So it became a limited liability company. It was doing the same work. So sometimes I sit and I was asking myself, why do we have Ghana Supply Commission? It is still in the system. It has not been taken off the system.
Well, it's still around.
It is around. And then we have PPA, Public Procurement Authority. Then we have the Auditor General also having oversight of other things. Then we have internal audits. All these have not worked for us. Now we have a special prosecutor's office. It's all to keep the same thing, corruption in the procurement of stuff.
So why haven't they worked?
That's the question. So we have to find out why these have not worked to the extent that we have to have a new office. So I'm asking, is it that we do not have the right caliber of people managing these facilities or the institutions, or it is just that we always want to add on to have a new, everybody comes with a new idea, so we put on a new idea. I'm looking at a situation where it is that government procurements, it's always different. Why is it that an ordinary bucket costs maybe 25 cedis, in the open market. When it comes to government procurement, it costs 100 cedis. What goes into that? And does it work for us as a country? So I think that this whole value for money thing, I don't know if we really needed a new office. I think that probably we should have looked at all these other agencies and found out why they are not working. Because it is people who run those offices. So is it that we politicize these offices? And to what extent will this new office also be politicized?
You've been in the system for some time. In your opinion, what do you think is the problem? Which is why we keep adding on.
Politicization of offices and the acceptance that doesn't come with it. Because when one political party sets up an office, the other political party comes back and feels that it's not good enough. Because there was no reason for us to take off the Ghana Supply Commission, which had worked well for some time. We didn't hear of all these things. So how come, years as we continue going as a country, we continue opening new offices that are not working? So I think that probably what we have to do is bring all these offices into one, all these institutions into one big body, but just have sub-directorates. And also, that, you see, that then cures that corruption bit. Because if MMDAs, DCAs, and all these other state institutions, if they can procure from a central unit, there will be no reason why we will have different standards in all other establishments. So what we are lacking, part of it, is standards. Why is it that we continue to compare 1 kilometer of road in Ghana, and then we say, oh, it looks like it's cheaper in South Africa? Why? Because we don't have any standards. You understand? Even though it might not be the same, because situations are different. Even soil content, so the quality of the soil is different.
The topography of the area
is different. You understand? But then, as a country, we ought to have those standards to know that Ghana does 1 kilometer of road at this cost. When it's transparent, we are all happy. That's the way I see it. I was looking at the roads ministry and Agboja's case, and I said, okay, this big push and the roads that are going to be done, I remember quite well that he was asked how it was going to be possible to have that road, the expressway, finished in time. And he said that they were going to divide it into lots. And we have about 3 contractors coming in to each lot. So sole sourcing. If you want to have something done very quickly, sole sourcing is the one way you have to go.
And the expertise is the person has.
And the expertise and whatever goes with it. So you do sole sourcing. Sometimes it is not the sole sourcing. It is the fact that people feel that you didn't get value for money. But in all the discussions we've had, I have not heard anyone say that Agboja's sole sourcing had something of corruption or corrupt practices in it. So was it just the fact that because it went through sole sourcing, it's bad? But we didn't hear that there was any corrupt element within it. That for me, at least, is a plus. But looking at it again, I ask myself, so if the new finance minister's new office is going to curb corrupt practices, abandonment of projects or uncompleted projects, and also accountability and the likes of it, do we need a new office? What would be the job of the PPA? What would the PPA be doing? Because most government state contracts are going to be looked at, or this office is going to have oversight responsibilities for all state projects, practically. So what will PPA be doing? That is one thing that we have to be asking ourselves, because we don't want duplication of institutions, which comes with cost, which we don't have the money right now to do. So I think that maybe what government has to do now is to put all these institutions together into one big pot, and then we'll get it to work. That way, maybe it might work. But as to whether the next government will not also bring another office is something that we cannot foresee, or kind of like think that it's not possible.
Your question is whether or not people who are criticizing the current decision to sole source some of the projects is if they found any corrupt practice.
Yeah.
But those who are asking these questions and criticizing the current move are saying that you were shouting in opposition that it is bad. Is it that you didn't know? You didn't know that, and when I say you, I'm not referring to you personally.
I know.
You didn't know that there could be circumstances under which sole sourcing could be done, like under Section 40?
I think that I think that the other bit of the sole sourcing that I just said is that previously, sole sourcing came up with figures that people thought was not right.
Yes.
I am still waiting for Agboja to come out with figures and for people to contest those figures.
Yes.
You understand? I'm still waiting for Agboja to come out with the figures, and let's see people protesting on those figures. But until then, I don't think that sole sourcing is so bad. But the value for money office is one office that we have to think through, and probably rope in the other agencies. And then also, I'm glad that it went through Parliament. It wasn't just like one of those offices that just come up. As Ghanaians, we will have to learn to work with each other. NDC, MPP, CPP, whatever. It doesn't mean that if a government comes into office and sets up an office, you also come and put another one. No, it shouldn't be the case. So I think going forward, we should look at the value for money office properly. Take a critical look at it and see if it's going to actually serve its purpose. Because at the end of the day, it is this government that is going to appoint people. There are people that are supposed to be trustworthy, people that are supposed to be professional, people that are supposed to be very efficient in what they do. But that was exactly the same things that we had when we were having PPA. We felt that we're having people who were honest, people who were going to be very efficient, professional. But at the end of the day, we all saw all manner of things happen.
To what extent do you believe impunity has contributed to where we are?
A lot. A lot of it has been that impunity within us and that self-centeredness within the setup, where we virtually have an entitlement, mentality that this project or this office that I am handling is mine. It's my party that is in power. I have all the power to do what I want to do. And therefore, when we get to those offices, we put aside the very things that we have sworn to do and do what we think will propagate our party's interest. And that is where I am having the problem. Will this office be another office where in the future we are going to have people come out and propagate a party interest because they'll be thinking that this office propagated another party's interest?
I'm coming back to you, Madam Lara, too, because again, the information about this office, if I could just read that to you, it says it will function as an independent oversight institution with the authority to conduct value for money assessment and issue mandatory certificates before major government contracts are awarded. It will also monitor compliance and enforce sanctions where violations occur. How do you expect this to function in the midst of the information we've been given about
all
it?
the other institutions we mentioned, they are independent, are they not? Or should I say they are supposed to be independent? Right. And I agree with Auntie Rhoda on the impunity bit. Some people take authority too far sometimes. But to go back to what Nanaya was saying, and I'll forgive her because she's bereaved and condolences to her. So she hasn't,
you forgive her on what exactly?
for saying that minority in parliament didn't say anything about this bill. She didn't hear.
I'm not saying,
so I forgive her. She's bereaved.
I didn't say they didn't
condolences
say, please,
to her.
please. I didn't say, don't start your thing.
So can I go?
No, you can't go.
I think she, okay,
I said
she's
that
here.
the creation of the office. Do you get the creation of an office? Everybody heard that this bill has been put before Parliament, and we're all happy that it has been put before Parliament. Do you get me? I also said something that you don't want to listen. Most of audit service, procurement. Procurement is a creation of World Bank something. I think IMF, World Bank, PPA. But the audit, it is an after.
No.
But me, I want to public service.
Nanaya.
Will you let me finish?
Nanaya.
Please, let her make her point and I'll come back to you.
But don't
within the
things that
no,
are
but
facts.
within the office, there are internal audit auditors. They are in the office. Do you get me? And you talked about impunity, familiarity, and all that. This is going to be an independent one that is outside of main offices. But you tell him internal audit. They come in to find out, audit your accounts, your work, your travels, everything. Is it not at the end of the financial year? Do they come at the beginning or in the middle of the program? For instance, if an institution is going to build, does the internal audit agency come in to look at it before you build? Once it goes to PPA, PPA gives you the approval. You have met all the requirements. They let you go and do your project.
Madam Larry, I want you to finish so she can conclude on her thoughts. So I'm saying
that they are even talking about the fact that when you even start, before you even start, that even PPA has given you the approval, or even before you go to PPA, we are going to look at what you are sending.
Madam Larry, please.
If I made a mistake, if ever anybody says
so,
that,
like what I said,
I will come to you, Nanaya. I'll come to you.
Condolences
I'll
to
come to
Nanaya.
you when
She
it's
wasn't-
time.
She wasn't following. No, I haven't heard.
then it means you are also not following anything because
Yes.
my brother Kwame has been talking about it.
Yeah, but Nanaya, I haven't been following your family issues.
It was on TV.
Please,
he said it on
go
TV.
ahead with your point.
Yeah.
Condolences to you. But the stance of the minority is that, and based on our experience and how things have run, the stance of the minority was we will rather go for amendments of existing legislations to enhance and strengthen existing institutions rather than creating a new office. And fundamentally, that's what Auntie Rhoda also alluded to. There's no need for a creation of a new office based on what happens with some of these things. But talking about procurement, yes, no system is foolproof. There are people beat systems and all that. That is why you have to keep improving and strengthening standards.
You don't see this as an improvement of
No,
standards?
creating an office is not an improvement of standards. I don't see it that way. I'm talking about insisting on the standards, improving on them, and making institutions better, because it's the same thing. Audit is an integral part of procurement in this country. And that is the point I wanted to make. It doesn't necessarily come at the end of the financial year. And again,
so how do they do it in between?
Nanaya, please, I'll come to you.
Procurement is not an event, it's a process. There are thresholds that determines what form of procurement you should
This one, we've talked about it already.
And it doesn't also happen in a vacuum. There's a procurement plan for the financial year that goes to the institution's entity tender committee.
So the question I asked you was, looking at the description for this, how do you expect it to work to meet all these expectations
I think that in terms of the creation of the office,
yes, and what we've been told it's supposed to be doing.
That is something we don't agree to.
Nonetheless, the law has been passed, which means they are going to see through
that's like duplication.
Of what?
That's duplication of efforts. Because PPA manages the project. There are entity tender committees. There's the Central Tender Review Committee that also deals with the big ticket items. Right. So you've planned for the financial year. It's gone to your entity committee. And this whole process, and the procurement process is just not a matter of just awarding the contracts. You planning, determining your needs, planning, going to entity, tender commitment. The PPA shepherds this whole project process till the contract is awarded. Then there's continuous monitoring and auditing of it. So for us, they've passed the law. Yes, they have the majority, they can do it. But that's another layer of bureaucracy that will come up with the problems that Auntie Rhoda enumerated.
Nonetheless, how do you expect it to work?
How is it going to work? It definitely has to work within the tenets. So laws are not cast in stone. You pass the law, you realize it's not practical. You go back to the same parliament and let it work. Like Auntie Rhoda, and I totally agree with that. If it means that bringing, you see, one of the other things that affects this country is institutions. By virtue of having a law, having their...
Beatrice, I think we are mixing two.
We are not mixing.
I'll come to you, Nanaya, very shortly when she's done.
Nanaya, the other thing I even wanted to correct with you was when you are doing a procurement and you put in your tender, when you put in your tender, you have your specifications. The fact that it says lowest bidder, it doesn't end at lowest bidder. It's lowest most responsive bidder.
Please,
so if the person quoted a low figure but doesn't respond to what your specifications are, you don't go for that because the figure is lower than the other thing. So the institution, the office that being created, I think, is just another bureaucratic level. And that is the stance of we in opposition. And it needs serious looking at. Implementation hasn't started. There's nothing wrong with saying that, look,
I'll come to you very
there's
shortly.
Nothing wrong with saying, look, we got this wrong. Let's relook at it. If it means amending the PPA Act, strengthening Auditor General, internal audit, and all these processes, the rules for our entity tender committees, central review. Let's look at it. Let's look at the existing, so rather than creating another chop office.
You see, chop. Yes, she's talking chop. Were you not in this country when a procurement, was it Director General or Chief Executive, was sacked because he was doing all manner of things under the MPP?
Yes.
PPA. Yes.
Man.
I've forgotten his name. The man was sacked in his own government because he did so many things. So if we talk about even using sole sourcing to get contracts for himself and his cronies. So if we talk about it, has anybody done wrong? Please,
it was the CEO of the Public Procurement Authority.
Yes, such a critical...
Ejenim Boateng.
No, but I am telling you that...
finish as well.
Yes,
I'll give you
when you are in the government and in the PPA, the person who is to ensure credibility of procurement is also guilty of breaching it. What does it mean? We don't want to go there. But please, I want you to read the mandates of the institution. We are mixing two things. You see that
what I just read to her.
What you read to her.
So it said that the new office, like I said, is going to be an independent oversight institution with the authority to conduct value for money assessment and issue mandatory certificate before major government contracts are awarded, and also supposed to monitor compliance and enforce sanctions where violations occur. Please let her finish as well. Now I'll give you your time.
No. Before the contract is awarded. Do you get me? I said the same thing. That the processes, like for instance, I'll give you an example. I gave examples. You want to go and do ABCD. You have to look at what you have. It's possible with this one. It's like a regulatory institution. And I have worked in a regulatory institution, and I'm still a board member of a regulatory institution. Auntie here knows about regulatory institutions. Do you get me? It is before the thing is done. The PPA does the administrative part. They don't go out to find out whether you have done it or not, or you are going to do it. Do you get it? They are talking about monitoring. They are talking about evaluating whatever has been done. The minister said that this institution is going to be set up for us to ensure that there are not contracts that are unfinished. When PPA awards the contract, do they go out to see that the contract be awarded, the work has been done or not? They don't do that. They do not do that. That one is very dependent on the institution. It is the onus of the institution to what? To make sure. For instance, if, using our own example, when you do tariffs, You remember all these metering things that came up. Then you say that, oh, I've done it, I'm gone. No. PURC got up to go and see what is happening with all the meters, the institutions, talking to ECG, talking to NETCO, making sure that these things are done. This is like a regulatory institution, and I'm happy that you have read this. PPA, you go through the process, all the things you are talking about, everybody knows that we go through an institution, you have a procurement plan, you go through everything. But after that, or in between, who makes sure that what you are presenting will bring value for money? Or even, do you even need it? Now, you are procuring 10 cars. Do you need 10, for instance, you'll be there. Now they have NANEPS, which is an electronic or digital way of getting onto the procurement platform. An institution procures 10 cars, 15 cars. Who will ensure that these cars that you are procuring, you really need it, value for money? People are, he said something about somebody procuring cars. Who ensure? Government can even give an instruction or a directive that don't procure. You have some people who have this mentality, impunity. They'll go and procure. Who is there looking at it, oversight?
Let me read what Sami Jemfi said, just the points 3 and 4 of the statement he issued. He said, resulting to the national competitive tendering process for the award of this critical road project would have taken another couple of months before the project could even commence. Just a second. This could have delayed the completion of most of the projects beyond 2028. The force says competitive tendering processes have in some cases lasted for months. A typical example is the competitive tendering process for the road toll project that has not still been completed in about a year due to its complexities. Yet the point Madam Laratu is making is that you're just introducing another bureaucratic block essentially and eventually in the entire process. You don't agree with that?
I don't agree with it because I'm saying that there is an administrative institution that does the administrative. I am Laratu, please.
Please read the mandate of PPA.
Laratu, I am asking you this question.
You have to ensure compliance. Who does compliance?
No, I am saying that PPA goes out every time. No, please. When a project is done.
The mandate of PPA.
That is not what. Please check it.
Please finish. I'll give you the mandate.
Yeah, but I am saying that when the procurement is approved. So if procurement is approved and PPA goes out to monitor and evaluate, or they are supposed to go out and monitor, why do we have uncompleted projects? Even in your own government, there are uncompleted projects. Agenda 111, you said it is uncompleted.
Oh my.
Do you get me? So why is it that PPA didn't go out there? Or the CEO was busy doing his own thing? Why didn't they go and check that what we have approved, it has been implemented effectively and that there are no issues? This one is saying that before even a certificate is awarded, we are going to make sure that you have done the right thing before you are even paid your money. Does PPA ensure that before your certificate is awarded, we will look at what you have done? If they were doing so, then we won't have any problem.
Okay, so
look at it
PPA is supposed to harmonize public procurement processes, ensuring they are fair, transparent, and non-discriminatory. They have regulatory oversight that this independent body is supposed to be doing.
Like what? No,
also policy formulation.
What goes into that
policy formulation?
Oversight?
You're talking about capacity building, compliance, and enforcement, among others.
But I'm saying that what goes into, because this one, the new regulatory institution, they have indicated what their regulatory oversight. This one is vague. What do they do?
Please finish with your point.
I am asking that what do they do as their regulatory oversight? Is it not vague? So if they are supposed to have why were they not doing it? That we have so many unfinished things. We have so many procurement things that we have done that is not working. What I would agree with the supply commission, you know what, in those days, supply commission, you could even go to the market to buy pens. Look, once there was an issue that we had to procure something, and I looked at the procurement prices, and I looked at what is on the market. That is when I was at PURC. So I asked the question, why don't we just go to Kingdom Books? Oh, sorry, I'm advertising something. But go to and find printers and print our name on it. They say procurement is against it.
We made laws against it.
Yes, they say procurement is against it. And this is a creation of the World Bank or IMF or something like that.
So, Nana, one of the specific things that PPA does is issues regulations such as public procurement, including thresholds for approving authorities and procurement methods. And of course, you have the regulation 2025 LI 2516, which sets the guidelines for tender approvals and procurement methods.
These are administrative things.
You said they were vague, so I'm just giving you specifics.
But the regulatory things they are doing, for instance, in my law, in the PRC Act, we talk about guidelines, but they are very specific about monitoring and evaluation. So that when even the utility, when it is specific in there. So when we come to your facility and say that you came for 20 cedis to build a plant, or 20 cedis to buy a transformer, where is the transformer? If they put together guidelines, that is more administrative. They should have said that after the project, go out and monitor and evaluate before the certificate is issued.
But this is specific enough.
What did it? No, it's not specific. What did he say? He said guidelines. Did he say go out, monitor, and evaluate before money is paid? No, is it specific like that? I'm asking you. The other one is specific that they will vet certificates before your money is paid. Is this one like that? This one is talking about guidelines. Guidelines are administrative processes. This is how you do it, A, B, C, D. But does it mandate them that before I am paid, PPA, go to Beatrice's company and see that we gave her to supply this to an institution? Has she done it? Is it good for purpose? For instance, these pens I'm talking about, we got the lowest bidder. The person supplied. The pen wasn't working. Where was PPA? Where was PPA? We had to take our own legal processes against the person. Where was PPA? Eventually, they told us that they were approved by the PPA. So at that time that we didn't get value for money, where was PPA? So this institution is going to ensure that you get value for money.
Let me get your thoughts again on this, Madam Ayana. I did mention that one of the things that this independent body is supposed to be doing is to give mandatory certificates before major government contracts. And yet we know that PPA is supposed to be doing some bit of ensuring that everything is done. I mean, with the SML deal, for instance, the kind of information that came out, we understand that they actually even bypassed PPA, eventually going ahead to give these payments. How sure are we that with this, we will not see another bypassing and a certificate of emergency, among others, to ensure that people have their way?
That is my problem, the human factor. Listening to Nanaya and to Laura too, I think that we could have strengthened and also added on to some of the regulatory powers for PPA to work with. Because at the end of the day, my problem has always been the price differentials for state organizations when they are ordering things or when they are buying or procuring stuff. So can we have a standard where we know that if the state is buying tiles, this is the standard that we want, and the cost should be within this range.
Yeah.
Can we have that?
The quality and
the standards and everything. Because what happens then is this. If you're giving a contract, for instance, say to make culverts, they are supposed to go and inspect before you are paid. That is something that is standard. But do they go? So if it's a situation where the people who are mandated to go and do those inspections do not go, do we need a new office for that? It is the people. It is not the fact that it is not there. So practically everything that we have for PPA, I'm sure is going to be in this new office. And that is my problem. That do we continuously have to get new offices for everything? I understand Honorable Atufolson's plight in trying as much as possible to curb corruption, to get things properly done, and all that. And probably he's frustrated by what's happening in PPA. because he's not getting what he's supposed to be getting. But does it warrant a new office? Or should we be strengthening those institutions? It still boils down again to the people who are going to be put in those institutions. Will they be doing the work that we put them there to do? Will we get value for money from their expertise and their professionalism? Because it was the same school of thoughts that brought the PPA, that we'll be getting value for money and then they'll be professional. At the end of the day, we found out that even the person who was the head had problems, and it all came back to the impunity. As it stands now, we have to look at all the institutions that are dealing with procurements and all that within the government setup. And probably, I still insist that we lump them all into one big institution and give directorates to all the others. PPA could be a directorate of this new value for money office. The Ghana Supply Company Limited can also be a directorate within there. And then we will be able to work alongside each other. You know, that way, no one group will be doing a shoddy job without the other person having an oversight. That's the way I see it.
We talked earlier about impunity, and you've just mentioned the need for us to curb corruption.
Yeah.
Madam Lara too earlier talked about a government that said that we want to deal with corruption, we want to ensure that there's value for money. You set up Oral. We've heard the man who was part of Oral, Domolevo himself, coming out to say that it looks like things have delayed. What would you say to those who would say that instead of, you know, setting up a new one, why wouldn't you punish those you think you have found in your Oral investigations to serve as deterrents to those who are even thinking of doing such a thing in the future?
I don't think Oral captures all of them, so we can't do that. But definitely, yes, we need to punish people. It's one of the things that has really impeded our success story where fighting corruption is concerned. We don't punish people. We tend not to punish people. In fact, sometimes we reward people because other parties have an interest in a particular project, and therefore they would want to keep someone that will play ball. And at the end of it, that person stays on forever. And that's what happens sometimes. But looking at the way things are, I think that fighting corruption, the way we're going with it, I'm beginning to get a bit disappointed and disillusioned because somehow they said that the justice system is slow. And so for those of us who want quick fix, we will always have a problem with it. But I think that when this new office is put in place, because right now it's gone through Parliament, we would expect that any infractions that are found would be dealt with swiftly without it having to stall like the way others are. Look at the MDCs, MMDCAs and all that. I think that's this program we watch on telly every morning, where the Parliament kind of like looks through the accounts, the public accounts, yes, the Public Accounts Committee. How many of them have been punished? How many? They practically go scot-free, most of them. You understand? Until recent, when we've decided that no, they have to be punished. They have to be sanctioned. Do you get me? So if you look at that group, and then you're looking at the fact that we say we will punish another group, you ask whether we even have the political will to do so. Do we have the political will to punish our own people? That's going to be the biggest thing. So I suppose Honorable Atufolsen knows what he's about. And so we'll watch and see. But for me, I think that there was no need for that new office.
Watch and see.
Yeah.
There was major victory for Ghana and Africa because of the motion filed by President John Mahama to declare the slave trade as the greatest injustice against human or the humanity. And we had about 123 votes in approval Of course, 52 countries abstained, and 3 decided to vote against us, including Israel. What's your thoughts on this massive win for not just Ghana, but even Africa?
It's a great day for us, a great day for Ghana. Kudos to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for holding on to his virtues and his beliefs and making sure that this thing went through. For those that said no, the USA, Israel, and Argentina, I didn't expect them to say yes anyway. I was a bit surprised though at the lot in the European Union. The Western world seemed to think that probably there was nothing. But slave trade is evil. It's good to know that now at least it's accepted as a crime against humanity. But my thoughts are that, is it over? We still have a lot of work to do because there's present day slavery still going on, and we need to tackle that as well. We have won this particular race. The next one is for us to free ourselves from the bondage of the Western world. We need to be able to manage our own resources. I think that the Gold Board was one such start. Now it's left for us to be in charge of our seeds for agricultural purposes. So that we don't go the GMO way. We need to be able to have agriculture as the bane for us, grow our own foods, and also get good prices for all our exports. So many things. I think that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has done a bit of work on this, because if you look at the fact that he's pushing for us at least to process our own cocoa beans and then process our gold and all that. It's towards that economic emancipation that Kwame Nkrumah talked about. Let's get ourselves out of the hold of the Western world. If we're able to do that, then we'll be able to keep our brains at home. Because right now we have a brain drain. And what are they doing? Some of them are out there almost like slaving for the Western world when they could have contributed towards our success in this country. So I'm really excited that this has come about, and I hear people saying we are going to get money. I think a sorry is healing enough. When somebody has wronged you so badly, and the person can now look you in the face and say, you know what, I am sorry for what we did. That should be something that will go a long way to heal us. So kudos to the government of the day. Kudos to all our Caribbean and African countries who stood with us. And kudos to the other people who thought that we needed to hear that slavery is evil and it's a crime against humanity. Let me just read a few of your messages before I come to you, Madam Lara, too. It says, and this is coming from Stephen Penn, says, Mama B, my condolences to Nanaya, and tell her I'll call her after the program. Stephen Penn sending us a message from Upper West Wa. Musa in Aswansi says, good morning, Beatrice. Parliament deserves commendation for passing the Value for Money Office Bill. This is a significant step towards strengthening accountability and ensuring prudent use of public resources. And yes, that's coming from Musa in Aswansi. There's also one coming from Fakaki, says, I would be much grateful if I could always, okay, not really commenting on this. And yes, a number of you sending us your messages. Let me get your thoughts on this massive win for us.
Even before I go in, just on a lighter note, Sisales and Casines shouldn't be jubilating because they are still our slaves. They are not part of this one. You understand. It's just on a lighter note. You get it later. Sisales and Casines, they understand the Gushis.
Oh no, we have that. We have
this doesn't affect them, so
this doesn't affect me anyway.
Yeah.
I cannot be your
We will work on it.
But on a more serious note, Beatrice, congratulations to Ghana, congratulations to President Mahama. President Mahama for leading this. But I mean, in all, Nanaya.
Nanaya, please let her make her point. We need to wrap up very shortly. Okay, please go ahead.
Congratulations to His Excellency the President for leading the team. But I think congratulations are also in order to his predecessor, because he also started this whole, or the 78th UN, his
No,
speech
the
was
UN,
really strong
yes.
on this, between 20, that even led to AU publishing the Accra Declaration. So I think it's a win for Ghana, but we know that this is just a step. There's more work to be done. This being accepted doesn't automatically make reparations automatic. More work has to be done. And I think just as this has been done together, it has to be pushed in that fashion and not make it like a one-side kind of thing. Because even when you go further into reading about this, some people even predate the efforts as far back as the days of Organization of African Unity. Some even refer to Durban 2001 and the CARICOM's architecture in 2013. So we've come a long way. But in the Ghanaian context, between 2022 and 2023, a lot of work was done, and it's been climax. And congratulations to the president and the whole country. But the work that has to be done. But we need to also be worried and also be guided by those who abstained.
Exactly, I was coming to that.
Who voted outrightly against it.
So the 52 that abstained included France, Japan, Belgium, Austria.
It included the UK and EU members. They abstained.
And 3 Israel among
Israel
others.
And
against
the third
us.
one against us. And we need to be worried. It's just like going for a family meeting and going to vote against your father's decision. Who holds the purse? We need to be very frank about it. So this should guide whatever steps we take forward to make this impactful for all of us. But congratulations.
Congratulations. Nanaya, your final thoughts?
My dear, it's a very good one. I mean, it's victory for Ghana. And for me, those who abstained, it doesn't mean whether they haven't told us. You can abstain. You might agree with it, but you don't want to put a vote to it or a voice to it. I'm not worried that anybody abstained or anybody did not vote. I mean, it's obvious. For instance, you know, the Jews also have their Holocaust, and they think that they also need an apology or something like that. Japanese too. They have everybody. Do you get me? So if they abstain, I don't think that it is negative. With, for instance, with the US one, I heard them say that Trump has done a lot for Africans in the diaspora. But now we need to find what the dichotomy is. Is it Africa in Africa or Africa in the diaspora? I mean, working out the fine details. But the most important thing for me is they have wronged us and they are sorry. They have accepted, they have apologized. And for me, I mean, it is good for us to move forward and see what we can do. I also say that we are a rich continent, and it is time for us to harness the resources that we have. But you see, whenever there is a beautiful thing like this, and there's a beautiful thing like this, and somebody brings a black spot to taint it. For instance, you are wearing a white dress and palm oil taints it. Then it becomes problematic. That a group of people will send a petition to the Lincoln University, people from Ghana here, with a name of, I think, Just Right or something, to tell the people at the university that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is not fit to be given that award. Certainly, he doesn't need that honorary doctorate to look for a job. Africa has already honored him by making him in 2027. The bloc of the West Africa region has, I mean, voted him as the AU chairman. It's a very high honor. But for him to receive this honorary PhD or honorary doctorate award was to also for us to accept or to see what Kwame Nkrumah did, a recognition of what Kwame Nkrumah did, which would have been good just for the fact that it is about Osagyefo for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. But a group of people from the country here, and it is not nice. Do you get me? When Because for me, the people out there knew that his stand on anti-gay,
Yeah.
on the gayism thing, LGBTQ, whatever. They knew. And they said that we're going to give you an award. Then somebody from here send a group of people.
If you could end on your thoughts for us.
Do you get me? Send a petition. Why should I end? You are ending. You gave everybody time and you used me last. Do you get me? Went there.
Our time is up, actually.
You knew that's why you gave me last. You knew I was coming to say something. So that is what I am telling you.
I just put in the victory, the white victory.
Do you get me?
These accusations.
So it is very wrong for them to have done that. But I want to end with the Bible. The Bible said that blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Thank
so
you.
His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has already done.
As we are talking about the transatlantic trade.
In 30 seconds. Our
I'm
time is
taking
up.
my 30 seconds to give
No, you're done. You've planned it. Please.
It is end.
Yes, 30
Don't give
seconds.
anybody time.
So
Don't give
so-
them- no, give them
so
time.
There are
Nanaya, please. Our time is up. No, you've ended. Nanaya, please. The 30 seconds are running.
There are diasporans out
Okay.
there. There are diasporans out there who
Yes.
are really pained
Yeah.
that they claim that our chiefs sold their ancestors out. I hope that we'll go a step further to also get our chiefs, if the need arises, to also apologize to the diasporans
Yeah, but do we have
about
to pay
that.
reparations?
All right.
You know, no, we don't pay any reparations. They were slow.
but auntie,
Their ancestors
you don't have
were
So
slow.
this is coming from ladies, please. This is coming from Chairman Olabode Williams from Nima. He says, good morning, Beatrice. Even though Laratu is my sister, I don't understand why she always opposes the government of the day. Please tell her to cool down. Ghana is on the right path under President Mahama. And then there is also a message from Master Planner Junior Policy Analyst Kintampo. He says, we tend to be passing bills after bills that are not in the interest of Ghanaians. Where is the LGBTQI plus bill? That is what majority of Ghanaians want. Thank you very much for sending in your messages. Want to say a big thank you to you, Nanaya Achempin Jantwa, presidential staffer. Thank you very much for joining us. Also, Madam Lara, to Musa Saka, member of the MPP communications team. Thank you as well for joining us on the big issue. Madam Rodlin Imorayana, public interest advocate. Thank you as well for joining us. I want to say a big thank you as well to Chic by Siba for my costume this morning. Thank you very much. And remember that big issue is sponsored by the University of Gold Coast. Whether you're aiming for a specialist MBA in marketing communication, please, your voice is heard on air. Marketing communication, operations, supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship, innovation, or business intelligence analytics, or you want to advance through a dual MBA or chartered manager MBA, University of Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc in international relations, communication, international marketing, international law, security, diplomacy, accounting, finance, or human resource management, an LLM in international law, security, diplomacy, or an MA in biblical studies, practical theology, the pathway is open. April admission is now open. Apply today because at University of Gold Coast, we make it practical, flexible learning, flexible entry, and flexible payment. Study around your work and life. Choose a route that fits your background and pay in convenient installment. Your dream deserves structure. Yes, your future deserves strategy. Your purpose deserves training. Apply now. www.ugc.edu.gh. You can call or WhatsApp now on the number 026-388-8555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nation. And we'll be taking a break very shortly. But let me remind you that we are going to be bringing you